I need to do something fun today. And since my talk this week at the Multnomah Club was canceled, um, not due to the virus, but due to low registrations, I thought I would still love to share a little bit about early football in Portland and how it's related to my family. So I hope you enjoy this and know that I'll link this to the blog I wrote, of which some of that blog I'll be reading here. Thank you. For today, I'm going to abbreviate the talk I was going to give at the MAC and instead only focus on an early Portland footballer. But I do need to start with a bit of family history. My dad, Dick Montgomery, was the focus of my memoir, My Music Man. Although other characters that I'll speak about today are also included in some of the stories that I wrote about. My dad's true football career ended after he knocked all of his teeth out playing football at Lincoln High. He instead became a Lincoln High School Cardinal Times sports writer and editor. Later, he was known as a handball player at the MAC, although in our kids' and my brother's eyes, he always threw a pretty good football pass. My dad's father, my grandfather, Daddy Dick, was more of a tennis and squash player. He didn't play football, although he was the editor of the Cardinal. My great-grandfather, William Andrew Montgomery, was the footballer. He had come to Oregon in the late 1880s, having graduated in business at Wesleyan, and began working for a guy named J.K. Gill. J.K. Gill was my great-great-grandfather, and he'd come out to Oregon in the mid-1800s and married a woman named Frances Wilson. I've recently written quite a bit about J.K. Gill and his namesake bookstores. J.K.'s wife, Frances, was the daughter of William Wilson and Chloe Clark Wilson, who separately traveled around the Horn with the Jason Lee missionaries to Oregon, way before the Oregon Territory, living at the Falls in Salem. And here's the story. Back east in 1876, students from Canada's McGill University taught football as they knew it while visiting Harvard, leading to the game being adopted with a few rule changes soon after at a college convention. Prior to 1890, football was a novelty way out here in Portland, known only by a few British who might play British ship apprentices when allowed to leave the harbor in vacant lots using adopted rules that were more of a kicking game mixed with moves from Union football. Sometime around 1889, a notice appeared in the Oregonian asking people, well, certainly only men, to show up in Portland's old Deacon building if interested in playing football. About 20 men, nearly all Englishmen, did show and formed themselves into the Portland Football and Cricket Club. About the same time, Bishop Scott Academy organized themselves into the first Oregon collegiate team, coached by William Andrew Montgomery. Yep, my great-grandfather, a young man then who'd played football as a student at Wesleyan. And you can see him in this photo in the middle row, front second to the left. The BSA team challenged the Portland Club to a game under collegiate rules and now considered the first collegiate game in Oregon. Will Lippman, who had played at Princeton, and Ray Green, a Harvard player, were selected as coaches for the Portland Club, with BSA winning after scoring one touchdown in each half. In February 1891, members of the Portland football and cricket team invited anyone interested in forming a permanent athletic club to attend a special meeting, which led to the creation of the Multnomah Amateur Athletic Club, with the forming of the Portland football and cricket team. A few from Bishop Scott Academy, including my great-grandfather William, joined in this new club. The members rented space on the third floor of the Willamette Block on 2nd Street, where they eventually installed a gymnasium to facilitate their physical conditioning. Not long after, the Multnomah athletic team was challenged by the Tacoma Athletic Club. The Oregonian reported on this event, and I quote, "For the first time in the history of the two cities, athletes from Tacoma and Portland met yesterday in an athletic contest. It was a football game at the Oaks, and the Webfoot 11 downed the City of Destiny team by a score of 30-8. This marked the beginning of football in the Northwest and also demonstrated the fact that the young men were very clever athletes. It was a great game, and all honor is due to Captain Salvage. End quote. And although the Multnomah team went on to play other teams from Stanford and Seattle, I imagine that first game in Portland must have been as exciting to spectators then as today's contests between the University of Oregon Ducks and the Oregon State Beavers. On November 2nd, 1961, the Oregonian printed a story that included this MAC football team, perhaps from a different year than the photo I've posted here. When printed, William A. Montgomery was the only survivor of the original team. Others on the team at the time included men from many pioneer families: Dosh, McAlpin, Lewis, Brooke, Chaplin, Lippman, Green, Gavin, Savage, Gleason, Holt, Fisk, Kendall, Ellsworth, McDonald, and Brooke. And that, my friends, is a bit about our first Portland footballers. Thank you for listening. You can learn more about the history of my family and early Oregon in my memoir, My Music Man. You can also see that story specifically about football and many others related to early Oregon in my recently released ebook, Then, Now, and In Between. Thanks again, and I'll have to see what I can come up with next.